So everyone's talking about Palworld, a game that came out not too long ago, and it was developed and published by Pocket Pair, and it's exclusive for the Xbox Series X, Microsoft Windows, and Xbox One. And it's a game that has become like really popular in a very short period of time because I think the game was released on the 19th of this month, and it's a game that's very unique because you look at the design and the creatures and the gameplay and all that stuff. A lot of people are saying that it's like it's similar to Pokemon, but different, you know? It's like a T-rated version of Pokemon with, I guess, better gameplay and mechanics and all that stuff, and, like, the route that, this game took in terms of development, in terms of concept and all that stuff, I feel like this is something that Pokemon should have done a very, very long time ago because you look at Pokemon games over the years, like during the 90s, the 2000s, and even the teens decade. Like the gameplay for the most part stayed like the same, but it was different, you know, whether it be like 2D gameplay or on the Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS or what have you. It's like the gameplay like stayed similar but different. But like Power World basically takes, you know, the gameplay to a whole different level because not only does Power World feel like Pokemon, but it adds like modern day elements of like gameplay that you would see in like popular titles nowadays into it. And what I mean by that, it's like Power World kind of feels like a cross between like the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or Horizon Zero Dawn mixed with Pokemon in the sense where it's kind of like an action adventure survival type game. And honestly, like the stuff you can do in this particular game is it's actually pretty cool, you know. I'm pretty sure it's something that would become addictive because um the game gives people the ability to manage the player's hunger level, craft basic tools, gather materials, you know, basically just like stuff that you would see in a typical survival game in this day and age. And I feel like that's something that Nintendo should have implemented in Pokemon games a long time ago. And there's been a lot of controversy surrounding Pal World in relation to Pokemon, and a lot of people feel like that Palworld pretty much copied off of the designs for the creatures and Pokemon and all that stuff, and that's something that's highly debatable. I mean, you could definitely go on record and say that Palworld is Pokemon inspired, but to say that it's like a direct ripoff is kind of like going like a step too far. And a lot of people feel like this is eventually going to lead to Nintendo possibly possibly following a suit against the developers of Power World, especially considering the fact that the game is actually made like a lot of money in a couple of days. I read somewhere that it made about like 189 or 190 million dollars on Steam within like a week or so, and it's managed to sell like 7 million copies thus far or whatever. But yeah, like, you know, like the game is actually blowing up really fast. And the thing is, when it came down to video games that people were looking forward to in 2024, that was going to probably be a contender for game of the year. Power World was not one of the games that people really thought of. I don't think Power World was hardly like talked about in 2023. And that's probably because there was a lot of stuff that happened in 2023, both good and bad, that probably would have overshadowed like the hype and anticipation for this game. And and I do feel that for the most part, Pocket Pair was smart, implementing elements such as survival and like, you know, like shooter elements into this game to try and reach out to a more modern audience of gamers because that's the thing that's in right now. Like, you know, action adventure, shooter, survival type games. And I do feel that this is something that will appeal more to people on on PC and the Xbox Series X, especially considering the fact that it's T-rated. Pokemon games are way too campy because they're E-rated and they're generally designed to appeal towards children because Pokemon's an IP of Nintendo. But I do feel that like if there's no serious issue between the developers and Nintendo, um, I do feel that Palworld has the potential to be one of the best video games of 2024 because let's look at things right now. I mean, 2024 seems like pretty much a dead year in relation to high profile video game releases. The only other high profile games in relation to this year that I can think of coming out is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Tekken 8. Those are like the only two games I can really think of that I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm pretty sure there's more, but yeah, Pal World has surprisingly become a like huge overnight success, and obviously I feel like this is going to be one of the few things that's going to be a huge attraction on the Xbox Series X, or it's going to make people want to buy the Xbox Series X, probably a little bit more so than its competitors. I still feel that when it comes down to first party games, Sony and Nintendo has the edge over Xbox for the most part because you look at Marvel Spider-Man 2 and how well that's done, and you look at the Mario series and the Zelda series and how well that's been doing on Nintendo. Um, I do feel that like this game will definitely force Nintendo to step their game up and step their productivity up and their creativity up and all that stuff in relation to developing future Pokemon games. And I think that's something that's needed because it seems like for the past like decade or so, the Pokemon series has grown stale for the most part. And I think that's an understatement, in a lot of people's eyes because you look at the Pokemon series, like the franchise, the anime series, I think there's been like 25 seasons thus far. And there's been like 8 or 9 generations of Pokemon thus far. And a lot of people would go on record and tell you that the Pokemon series peaked like in the 2000s or like in the early teens or what have you. Even though like Pokemon is still like, one of Nintendo's like biggest IPs and one of Nintendo's most profitable franchises. I do feel that Power World is going to like be something that's going to force Nintendo to be more competitive in terms of making Pokemon games in the future. That is if they don't, decide to take action against the developers for I guess suspecting that they're infringing on, their intellectual property and all that stuff. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It could be wrong. But the success of Pal World thus far has been unreal. The game literally just came out, and it's something that can't be ignored. Like the success of this game cannot be ignored, and I do feel that as the year goes by, it's going to grow in popularity, and it definitely has the potential to be one of the best action adventure survival games of 2024.